Well, I'm Melinda Gibbons Prunty, and I was raised in Ashland, Kentucky. I have two older brothers. My mom and dad we were middle class people. My dad was a pipe fitter. My mom was a stay-at-home mom till I was in the 5th grade, and then she went to work for the school system. And I was raised, I had everything I needed and some of what I wanted, and I was told no, I didn't have everything I wanted. But anyway, I graduated from Paul Blazer High School in 1975. And went on to the University of Kentucky to receive a Bachelor of Health Science and Physical Therapy degree. It's where I met my husband. We actually met in the gross anatomy lab over prosected body parts. And he was a first-year medical student, and I was a first-year PT student. And when he graduated from medical school, we moved to Columbus, Georgia for 3 years while he did his family practice residency. And then we discerned to move back to Greenville, to Muhlenberg County, because it offered him the opportunity to practice medicine the way he wanted to and make the choices of what he did and didn't do as a family physician. We prayed about it, felt like was where God was leading us, and that's where we've been since 1984. We have 3 grown daughters. Casey Aaron lives in Lexington. She's never married. She works for Tempur Sealy. Says she wants to have a life. I tell her she's got to slow down long enough to meet somebody. But we have Lindsay's our second daughter. She lives in McLean County. She married her high school sweetheart, and they have 3 children so far. Will's 8, Evie is 5, Annie will be 3 in November, and Elizabeth is due on my birthday, December 5th, so they're going to have 4. And I had my first experience with a boy, with Will, our grandson. Learned about monster trucks and dinosaurs and all that good stuff. So, our youngest daughter Hillary is married to Kyle Martin, and they live in Owensboro. They have a son Cam who just turned 4, and they have a pair of adopted fraternal twin boys that were born in January and have been with us for 9 months. So we're very proud of them and very happy to have them as part of our family. So that's who I am. I did physical therapy. I worked part-time. I worked full-time after I first got out of school at Cardinal Hill Hospital until we moved to Georgia, and then I worked part-time at a hospital down there, private hospital in Columbus. And then we moved back to Muhlenberg County. I worked at Jenny Stewart Hospital for 18 months, 2 days a week. And then I worked 10 years home health physical therapy in Muhlenberg County and drove all over the back roads of Muhlenberg County and loved it. Worked a lot with kids with disabilities, those kinds of things, physical challenges. But for the past 20 years, I felt like God was calling me to be the Director of Youth Ministry for the Diocese of Owensboro. So I've been the Director of Youth Ministry for 20 years, and I took an early retirement in June in order to run full-time. Felt called to run, and so I retired, took an early retirement to run. So. I see the most critical concern for the district is jobs. What I've seen fear in people's eyes of wives of coal miners, fearing they're going to lose their jobs. The coal miners themselves, and when I've gone to the coal mines, same thing. They're fearful of losing their jobs. What I would do to address it, I would plan to work with the Muhlenberg Alliance for Progress and Gary Jones, the director, and Mr. Hagerman. I'm not sure of his first name. I haven't met him yet, but the Madisonville, Hopkins County Economic Development Corporation director, to try to see what we could do to bring new jobs in. But I would also try to stand with the current administration, because I believe they would stand up to Washington against the EPA and try to get rid of the regulations on coal. So that's how I plan to address it. I'm very pro-life because for a number of reasons, but I believe it's a God-given right. Our Declaration of Independence says we are given the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and I believe life begins at conception to natural death. So pro-life is both ends of the spectrum. It's a part of my faith. I am Catholic, Roman Catholic, and I do believe in that life begins at conception. I believe that in our country, I believe it's become our Holocaust, even though it may be a strong word to use. I believe it's out of sight, out of mind. I voted pro-life for years, but when I literally went to Louisville to pray before a Planned Parenthood clinic on Saturday morning, just not proselytizing, just walking quietly and watching young girls go in and come out, it's like, oh my gosh, it's going on in there right now, and it has been for years. And just the sheer number of babies that have been killed in our country. I believe the late-term abortions, when they're 32 weeks, why can't they? They're going to have to deliver the dead fetus or dead baby. Once it's killed, why can't they just go ahead and deliver it and let it be adopted? There's so many couples in this world that would love to have a child. Why not just let it be born? So it's my faith. It's a moral issue. It's not a political issue for me, and that's what I believe. So. I would try to entice jobs to the region by working with, again, those entities I spoke about before, and trying to work with the local fiscal courts and work on maybe lower tax safe zones for businesses. But I would also try to see what we could do for current existing small businesses, because they've taken the risk and they've been here, to try to give tax breaks for all small businesses currently existing, and also to try to entice other businesses to come to the area to start businesses and create jobs. Number one, I do not believe that the legislators should receive pensions personally. And to my knowledge, it's been in existence only 24, 25 years that they've even received it. I can't find, I've tried to find research on when they actually started, but I know it hasn't always been. And if they get one, to me it should be prorated. 30 days, 1 year, 60 days. I know it's more than that with committee meetings and things, but it's not a 365-day job. To me, your pension should be coming from your full-time job that you have at home. I know that it bothers me that state workers are 15% right now, currently 15% funded. Teachers 45%, and legislators is 85% or 86%, somewhere in there. I don't understand the disparity there. To me, if they get one, it should be funded at the 15% in state workers, or some, maybe even at least Stephen across the board. I don't understand that. I understand it's a bipartisan issue that started many years ago, and people didn't watch it for 10 years and how it got out of hand. But why the percentages are so different, I don't understand that, but I don't think it's right. How to bring it to full funding, I know our governor tried this past year with the budget, trying to make cuts. You can't spend what you don't have, and you have to take away from one in order to fund the other. The cuts he made were so minor but I think they've made it a bigger political football than it really should be. To me, it was less than 1% to the universities. If you can't cut 1%, then there's a problem. But if that playing field was leveled out, if the percentages were changed, then there may be a way to adjust things with what they've already got in order to fully fund those systems. I mean, that's one thing. But looking at waste in the government and trying to cut the waste out would be a way to fund it. And offering alternatives for funding, be it 401k or something like that, another option. Later retirements for some workers. I know when you retire at 45 or something. I mean, some people may not like to hear me say that, but that would be an option, was to maybe work longer in order to pay in more to cover your pension and have personal contributions to it. I believe that we need multiple representation in government. I don't think it needs to all be lawyers. I personally think there's too many lawyers making all the laws. The way they can interpret and then they benefit from financially. I'm not a non-career politician. I don't plan to go for 20 years, which is liberating because I can do what I feel is right and not worry about staying. I think some things are bigger than party. Some issues are bigger than party, and I'm willing to work with people to try to make solutions. I know you can't please everybody in government, but you could get people together on both sides of an issue and have a conversation and try to come to some sort of consensus. I don't think you can compromise on moral issues, but I think there's a lot you can do to meet in the middle with people on different sides of political issues. So I believe I'd be an energetic, fresh start. I'd be a fresh face with new ideas, and would represent more than just have a voice of more than just attorneys in government. I am pro-coal and pro-job creation. I want to fight for coal and fight for new jobs to come to the district. I am pro-First and Second Amendments. I feel like our religious liberties are being threatened. And my dad and my brothers were not military and not hunters, but don't tell me I can't have a gun. It's a freedom issue for me, and I feel like that amendment, that right is being threatened. I'm pro-adoption law reform. We have a daughter and a son-in-law that have adopted a pair of twins. They had a failed adoption and a successful adoption. I feel like there are many couples who are spending thousands of dollars to have their hearts broken. And I believe the laws are not good for the birth parents either. That whole system needs to be looked at. I'm pro-veteran. I feel like veterans have been neglected and they need to have access to health care. They've fought and served our country, and that needs to be looked at. But the thing that motivated me is being pro-life, and I just feel like if we don't get our moral and our fiscal house in order, I worry what we're leaving our grandkids, our kids and grandkids. For me, it's not about me, it's about my grandkids. And I believe if you say one thing where you live, you need to vote that way. Your voting record needs to reflect that, and I just think it's time for a change. I'd be humbled to serve the constituents of the 15th District, and I'd appreciate votes, so on November 8th.